All right. Do we want to introduce like at the end, like as people come up or all at once? I'll do introductions. All right. All right. Hello. There's actually some of you I know, some of you I do not know. Thank you so much for being here. I know that you're required to. Maybe I shouldn't thank you. Thank you for coming anyway. My name is Mercy Cannon. I am the Dean for the College of Letters, Arts, and Social Sciences. And I am kicking us off on this session on essential education, which is what we call our general education here at EKU. And I am going to let everybody introduce themselves. Each person will have a couple of slides to go over, but each one has a special role in this incredible program that we are working on to enhance, to reach the students and give them the foundational skills and opportunities that will yield success in all of the programs that they are in. So I'll start here with Perry.
You already know me, Perry Winslow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's here? Maybe you know everyone. I don't know.
Hi, everyone. Jennifer Weiss, Associate Provost. We met yesterday when we were talking about assessment.
Hi, Allison Buck, another familiar face, Director of Academic Assessment. Star Winslow, met yesterday, the Director of First Year Courses and the Team Lead for the Grad Profile.
Jade Robinson, and I shared yesterday that I was a part of the Essential Education Transformation Committee, and that work also involved Perry and Jennifer and Allison. So we all did that work to help kind of reimagine essential education, and I'll be serving as the Vice Chair for the Essential Education Committee moving forward.
Excellent. And I know all of you, we spent a lot of time together, but in terms of essential education, I chair the Essential Skills and Pathways Operations Committee, which doesn't need to mean much to you right now, but is a very exciting role that I get to collaborate with Allison and Star on often, daily.
Okay.
All
right.
Take it away, Marissa.
Okay, so I'm just going to kind of cover briefly what is essential education. Again, everywhere else it's called general education. We basically rebranded it because we want to create the narrative around it that this is not the check the box, get it over with, get this out of the way kind of course, but instead these are essential pieces of a foundation, and every student will engage with essential education in different ways. I realize that some students are coming in with dual credit. That is obviously an area that has exploded over the past 10 years. Some are coming in with AP, others are transferring in, but we consider this that foundation for them to move into their disciplines. Our essential education is 30 credit hours, and we'll kind of go over how those are distributed. But what we're looking for them to do is to develop the knowledge, skills, and perspectives that will increase their success both in college and beyond. We are envisioning this as multidisciplinary, as you know, most of these kind of programs are, but also we are looking for ways to innovate in this program so that we are addressing students where they are at this moment. It feels like 2026, 27 is just a whole nother world. The 20s have been interesting. So again, you know, as I mentioned, you know, trying to get students to have a through line in these courses that they are able to transfer those skills, but also have a vocabulary by which to articulate what it is that they are gaining in these courses. We have, and have you talked about essential skills yet in other places? Okay, so you've heard about essential skills. And this is sort of how it's being mapped onto our essential education. All of it is kind of braided in together to have multiple domains of knowledge and skills that they are walking away with. And so the 30 hours is something that has transformed from last year to this year. And this was responsive to student needs and program needs. It kind of freed up 6 hours for every program to decide what they wanted to do with that. Some programs ask students to continue taking more of the courses that are offered in the essential ed elements. Some disciplines wanted students to do a kind of a capstone research project. Some built in internships. And so that is sort of that maximal flexibility so that really faculty get to make those choices about what their students and their programs most need to be successful. And the structure, stop me when it's my turn. Okay, it's your turn. So I'm very excited about essential education. And just real briefly, we have redone the governance structure of essential education. And we don't need to get into the weeds of it, but what we're trying to do is not for one group sort of off in a curriculum committee to make all those decisions, but for us to increase the visibility to faculty about the way that we incorporate it, assess it, align it, make it available to all the people that have a stake in it, and to ensure that this is a program that doesn't just sit for decades, but that is incredibly responsive to the rapidly changing environment that students find themselves in. So we kind of built the infrastructure here, given it robust support, built-in shared governance everywhere in all of the elements, but also giving it the administrative attention that it needs to ensure that we are making it the very best experience for the students and the programs. So I will turn it over to Jade, who's going to talk to you about how the different blocks work together.
Yeah, thank you, Mercy. So we have the 30 credits, 10 courses, basically, and you have the 4 primary elements. You have sub-elements, and we have the flexible option that I mentioned yesterday where a student could take another arts class or they could take a second history class. Now, of course, it only counts, that for that one time. So we're not double dipping or anything like that with those flex hours. But you can see this builds in a lot of flexibility, as we were just talking about, not only for programs, but for students as well. And even if you're not teaching one of these essential education courses, you are still supporting essential education through advising and helping students see connections between these foundational courses in essential education and your major courses. So every student is an essential education student. Every faculty member is involved or supports the essential education program in some manner as well. So it's important for us to be somewhat familiar with it. So along those lines, we are going to talk a little bit about some of the options that students have. So you can use the QR code here to go to a Google Doc. And since it does live in the Google Drive world based on EKU's kind of platform, you may need to be logged in with your EKU account or credentials to access it. But you should be able to get to 3 or 4 pages that list all of the essential education courses that we have for 2026, 2027. So I would love for you to go to that list. And just for time's sake, we don't have, the opportunity for you to look at every course, but maybe choose one of the elements first, an element of interest, and then look at the courses that are going to fall in that element. What I think you'll see is that students have a lot of options. English 101 and 102, that's pretty straightforward for elements 1A and 1B. But we have 15 courses that fall in that oral communication area. Element 2, you'll see a large number there. So a lot of different options. Element 3B, the humanities, probably our largest area in terms of the number of courses that fall in that element. So as you're perusing the essential education courses, I want you to think about two things. If you could audit a course today, what course would you be interested in taking? What just seems like that would be really cool content to learn more about? While you're thinking about it, I'm going to tell you mine. So I think American Sign Language would be really cool to learn more. I have some basic knowledge, but I would love to increase that. So that would be my course choice. So what about you all? You found anything that, gosh, that really piqued my interest? Yeah.
I can tell from my own experience, just coming from the industry, communication and learning how to work effectively with others, which is the category here, but also just to communicate with others and articulate what you're saying is so valuable, not just as a teacher, but as a person.
Right.
And so I would definitely take something like that. But I don't know if you missed or if I missed this is probably my fault, but what is skills 6 and 5 and 9 and 10? I'm like a little curious on that. So I only see 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8.
So we'll talk a little bit more about this one. Skill 10 is that information literacy, which is the one that all essential ed classes incorporate. Skill 6 is perform professionally. Skill 9 is apply knowledge, skills, and abilities. And what's the other one you said? 5?
Skill 6, perform.
That's perform professionally.
Skill 5, right?
Skill 5, the reason that it is not listed on the one sheet that I passed out is because it only includes English. And so there's only 2 classes that fall into that one, so we didn't do like a specific thing for that one, but it's still in there. That skill is, why do I not know this one off the top of my head?
It's adapt to changing circumstances. Is the
So they're still getting it in some place, like skill 6 and skill 9, we're doing in the GSD 101 courses. But whenever I talk in a minute about the essential skills, we'll talk about where they fall into which kind of the elements.
Okay, sorry, I thought I missed something,
Nope.
and I was like so confused.
And communication, as you were saying, as a course, would be really critical, not only for your work as a professional, but just engagement in your community and with others and advocacy. All of it requires good communication skills. So taking a communications course would be of interest. What are some other courses that you found that, gosh, that would be pretty fun or helpful to take?
SPIA 101, Spanish 101.
Spanish 101, yes, absolutely. I almost chose that one instead of American Sign Language. Those were the 2 that I was going back and forth with. So being able to communicate with others in a different language. Yeah. Yes.
An Appalachian Studies program.
I know, isn't that awesome?
Take the intro to Appalachian.
Yes, and that's a very popular course in terms of student interest as well. Many of our students identify with that culture and want to know even more about it. So I think that one's a really great one to offer here at Eastern as well. Sorry.
To piggyback off of that, I know that the political science department also offers the politics of Appalachia, and I think all the time about how much I would want to take that.
Yeah.
Gosh, yes.
I'm glad you pointed that out. I wasn't quite aware of that one. That's really cool.
We have credit hours that we could use, like.
Yeah. I think we're all lifelong learners, right? So we enjoy being in a classroom, whether that's as an instructor or as a receiver of information. So, I hope that your excitement for some of these courses is something that our students feel as well. Because I want them to see that these are really interesting courses. These are courses that are going to help you in your current or your future profession and in your current classes. So again, laying the foundation, but also these are just really great courses. So the second question is, what would be a course that would help your students in terms of foundational knowledge for a major or a program?
Logic and critical thinking.
Logic and critical thinking. All right. So with our skills, they're hopefully going to get that kind of thing across many different course topics. Any other?
I'm thinking about financial literacy because I know that's important for,
Yeah.
students
Right.
at the college level. Is that a class that EKU offers?
And I don't know the name of it, but I know it is. So
Yes, in the College of Business, financial literacy, and I don't know the number off the top of my head either. We also have a financial literacy certificate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Helping with your personal finances, that's really important. But also, what if we have a student who wants to be an entrepreneur? That's going to be really important for their business, even if they don't have a business degree, they may, or they would certainly benefit from that.
Well, and as an informed citizen, those classes are really helpful because we have national conversations. on,
Right.
Where our budget is and deficits and those sorts of things.
Absolutely.
I know one thing for me that we identified in our program, a lot of our students were required to take, the English classes, the general writing courses, right? And that's very broad. When I got into the engineering realm, it was very specific of writing technical reports and how to structure those reports. And that would be something that I would love to tailor more specifically to our program, because I'm sure that to other programs as well, that might need to be an essential skill, not just how to write a resume, but essentially how to be very specific and detailed in something, that you need to do at your job.
Yeah. The professional language, the normal kind of writing styles for different professions. Very good.
Too, like, I'm in political science, and one of the things I wish that our students knew more about and knew how to talk more about was philosophy. I think sometimes it's so important for them to understand like how to define what they think about something. And
Yeah.
especially when it's something really vague or like innocuous, then just being able to like process that and figure out why they believe what they.
Yeah, so those courses are going to mostly fall in 3B, and there are several different philosophy courses to take as well. So speaking of that, so we've got PHI 110, 130, 240, 300, 320, 362. How do you know what's different about each one? You can go to the course catalog, which is online, and look for those course descriptions. So if a student is, wondering, what is that course? They can always go to the course catalog, find the description. And also, this is something that sometimes people don't realize. When you're in the registration system for EKU, if you right-click on the course number, it will pop up a box that includes the course description. So students may not even have to go to the course catalog. When they're in the registration system, they can just see what those course descriptions are. Makes it super easy. Well, that's what I wanted to share about our essential education course list. This is somewhat of a draft, as you can see the watermark on there. The official course catalog will come out in the near future, and it will list all of the courses for sure for this year.
Okay, well, I get to talk about so the skill integration that you've reported about is new for our essential education. And the other thing that's new is a pathway model. So I'm in charge here. I should get this. So what is a pathway? A pathway is a collection of courses examining a real world problem from various disciplinary perspectives. And so students can choose to opt in. So pathway is something that exists sort of in parallel to the essential education program. So students can take regular essential education courses, or they can choose to opt into taking what we're calling these pathway courses. And the pathway courses, well, I'll show you the first pathway topic is artificial intelligence, not a big surprise. And so what we're doing is we're inviting faculty to develop essential education pathway versions of essential education courses that have this topic as their theme. So I'm in psychology, I could teach an introduction to psychology course with the AI theme attached to it, really, and it's, we hope it's gonna be more than just a little add-on module. We want that theme to be integrated throughout the course in a significant way. So I could teach a version of Introduction to Psychology or a version of any general education course, including the writing courses, math courses, STEM courses, any department could propose and develop a pathway version of an existing course, or they could come up with an entirely new course. So I might, as a psychology professor, say, I want to teach a class about the psychology of artificial intelligence. And I want to include that as an essential education course, and it would be an entirely new course, and that would be acceptable as well. And so students can opt in to take these classes. They could take one pathway course, they could take all 10 of their general essential education courses as pathway courses. And so eventually we're going to have enough pathway courses in all the different categories so that students could actually take all 10 courses, we hope, within one pathway. And so imagine what a student would be like if they took 10 essential education courses that all had this pathway theme. So they're getting to understand AI from a philosophical point of view, a psychological point of view, of communication, mathematical, or all the different perspectives. Imagine if they took 10 classes that has AI as a theme. That student would know more about AI than probably any of us do, knowing from all those different perspectives, and definitely more than any other student in Kentucky. Right? They would be well out in advance in terms of their understanding of AI. And so the idea of a pathway is we're picking these themes that are significant cultural issues. And we're asking faculty to develop courses that really will explore those issues from their disciplinary perspective, so that students can see that issue from all these different perspectives, all these different angles. And so they're going to have a much richer understanding of that issue, as well as the disciplinary perspective that comes from any essential education course. So I'm going to teach psychology. I'm going to teach psychology in my course. I'm going to teach how psychologists think about something. In this case, AI. So they're going to understand how psychologists think from understanding how psychologists think about AI. And so that's the idea of a pathway course. Yes.
So using my example from my last question, let's say, if I wanted to develop an essential education, a writing course for technical writing for engineers or something like that. One, could I use that for PMT, like for service to the university or a scholarship or something like that for my package?
Yeah.
And two, would that be like an overload in addition to the classes I was teaching for my program? Or like, because let's say I developed it and they want me to teach it,
Yeah.
I'm already teaching 4 classes, and how would that work? And
Several questions in there.
yeah.
So a writing course about technical writing is not a pathway course because it's not about AI, right? And so you can say, hey, I want to develop an essential education course for my department that would go into element 1. And that would go through the normal essential education course proposal process. And you have to work with your chair in your department, your college, to figure out whether that makes sense. In terms of how it fits into your course load, you have to talk to your chair about that and work that out so that if you developed it and it was accepted, it would fit into your teaching load. That would be up to you and your chair to figure that out. Other questions about pathways? Yes, sir.
So we have intro to criminal justice in the essential ed curriculum.
Yeah,
We have a class called cybercrime that actually has AI in it already.
yeah,
Is that something that we would develop to be in an essential education course?
you could. So if you wanted to make it an essential education course, so every essential education course has to go through a proposal process. It goes through a committee, and there's also a committee for a pathway course. So if you wanted that course to be not just an essential education course, but a pathway course, it would go through that extra layer of review to make sure that it's going to satisfy our pathway requirements. But absolutely it could. And you'd want to satisfy the goals of any essential education course for the category you want it to be in, but certainly it could.
How often do these pathways change?
Well, we don't know yet because this is our first one and we're kicking it off this fall. It's just starting. And so this pathway is going to have a life cycle of at least 5 years, we think. But we also are opening pathway proposals, pathway theme proposals up to faculty. So we hope that faculty will propose some other pathway themes. So it could be, on wellness or entrepreneurship or, climate change could be one if you wanted to, although it's politically scary. So we're hoping that there are going to be a number of pathway themes going on at the same time eventually. We're just starting it out right now. Yeah.
2 questions.
Yeah.
So piggybacking off of what you asked, would our work in this count towards service, or that would be a conversation with the dean?
Yes.
And then the other question is, so say, and I'm just making this up, Dave, but say his class counted for quantitative reasoning, and I wanted to develop, like, I don't know, artificial intelligence use in public health infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna argue that's quantitative. Would you guys have multiple options for that quantitative requirement, or is it just like we have 10 classes? They check these boxes and you can't, like, it's not a buffet. It's if you do the AI pathway, these are the courses you're taking.
So your first question about developing courses, to my knowledge, doesn't count as service.
Okay, well, I meant like for the pathway thing.
Even so.
Okay.
Secondly, I think we're open to having more than one course per category in essential education. So if there were several courses in quantitative reasoning that were all pathway courses, that's fine with us. We hope that there's going to be a lot of student interest in pathway courses. We hope so. We have some evidence that it's going to be so. So there hopefully will be enough student demand to satisfy having more than one section or one course in each category. So not just 10. We could have lots more that students could choose from, because all of our category, or most of the categories in essential education, have so many different disciplines within them that it makes sense that there be more than one pathway course in each of those. Good question. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I double barreled you.
No worries.
You might have already said this and I missed it, so apologies if that. A student completes the pathway.
Yes.
What do they get?
That's a great question. What's in it for them besides the knowledge and experience? But there's going to be some recognition that they have satisfied some minimum number of courses in a pathway in order to earn that recognition.
So it's like a certificate.
You gotta be careful how you use your words. We haven't worked out what we're gonna call it yet, because those words have particular meanings that you have to be very sensitive to. So there will be some recognition on their degree that says that they have satisfied some requirements in terms of pathway recognition. There will be something. We don't know what to call it, but there will be some. We're gonna figure that out. Thank you for asking that. So that's a recording question. Other questions? So how do pathways benefit students, right? So it's connecting learning experiences. So one of the things that's not great about most general education programs is that they're very siloed, right? You take a philosophy class and a psychology class, and there's no way that we don't require our students to integrate that knowledge at all. We don't even give them opportunity really, other than on their own. And so a pathway would help them integrate this knowledge by seeing how different disciplines talk about the same topic. So that's going to be a significant advance from most general education programs. It's a real world problem solving focus that real world issues we're talking about. It's going to be a sense of belonging. Hopefully students will develop this. They'll see the same students maybe in multiple pathway courses. That would be great. Enhanced career preparation, that gets towards the skills as well. But I think the pathways, learning about AI is going to be good for almost every career, really. And then again, recognition on the transcript. So these are some of the ways it's going to benefit students. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Star.
Okay, I'm gonna be fairly quick because I don't want to beat a dead horse, so to speak. All right, so yesterday we talked about the Kentucky graduate profile and what that looks like for the 10 essential skills. So today the reason I'm part of this is because we really want to see how all of that melds together. So again, the Kentucky graduate profile is that this whole framework that was developed by the state. And again, here are those 10 essential skills, which you all are, I can hear like people are talking about them. You are already starting to pick up that language, which is fantastic. We used to have all of them numbered on absolutely everything, and we started taking the numbers away because we don't want a student to be like, I'm really great at skill 1, whenever they're in an interview and can't say like, I can communicate effectively. So we're starting to take those numbers away, but you will still hear us reference some of our skills by number, just because that's the kind of the easiest way to do that. So I passed out a handout for everybody that has a list of all of the essential education courses that should be taught this fall. Okay, so this should help you if you're teaching an essential education course to figure out which skill that you would fall within. Again, all of our essential education courses have to include skill 10. But then if you are teaching, for example, English 101, then you would fall, that was a terrible example because that's the one that's not in here. If you are teaching Art 200, then you would also have skill 7 as a separate assessment for your course. There are a few classes that fall into more than one element, and that's because of that flex piece. So there is a chance that you might see your class listed on here more than once. That does mean that you will have to assess 3 skills, but there are very few classes that do that. And if you had those specific questions, Allison is the perfect person to answer all of those types of questions. But do you all have any questions on this? I know even this summer, or the spring, when we were going over this again and again, we were like, sign up for which skill you need. And they're like, everybody was clicking the wrong one. So listing what all of the classes were, we think is the easiest way for you to connect which skill would be assessed for. So no, all of you all have to do skill 10 if you're teaching an essential education course, and then just see which other class yours falls into for those essential skill pieces.
You have a question on?
Yes, sorry, yes.
Sorry, this was a long time ago. I know they used to require students to take a class that was like in English 225 W, that meant was writing and answering. Is that still a requirement that there's a W level?
No. Remember when you used to have to go and take the exam for your writing? And at the end of your second year?
Oh, that was even before the.
That was before the W.
Predecessor to the.
We're getting into old curriculum things, not just previous, but old curriculum. Let's talk a little bit more. This is a piece of essential education that has stayed stable. So I think Jade said this really nicely yesterday. When you think about these competencies, we talked about the essential skill competencies, right? We want them to be able to communicate effectively, think critically, collaborate with one another, do teamwork, but we also want them to have that foundational knowledge. These competencies are about that foundational knowledge. We want them to communicate effectively, but also substantively, right? We don't want them to communicate without knowing what they're talking about. If they're communicating clearly, they need to be communicating clearly about what they know. And these competencies are more focused on that, right? This is performing these competencies with respect to the content knowledge in their courses, their essential education. So you see that there is some variation here. There are also some commonalities. We've got a lot of analysis and comprehension. We have a lot of resources. If you're trying to figure out which competencies you should be assessing for your course and your element, I can hook you up with so many resources. You can also just email. We all are resources for you. So I want to flip back again to skills and just reiterate this. I won't spend much time on this because we talked about it yesterday. But again, when we are assessing the skills, when we are thinking about the skills in essential education courses, what you're trying to get them to do is, can they perform the task independently? Can they do it effectively? So this is not at the highest level where they're innovating with it. But it is more than just understanding the skill. It's more than just understanding what clear communication looks like. It's being able to actually do it. So what kind of activities are you going to incorporate into your course? What kind of assessment are you going to do to measure whether students can do that or not? So talking again about assessment, this is just a different version of something that you saw yesterday. This is much more focused specifically on essential education. So we are in a data collection year, yay. What we're doing in early fall, element leaders, essential education leaders are going to validate those rubrics, those common element level rubrics that we use to score student works. Assessment instruments are going to be finalized. And I'll talk more about the accelerator in a minute. That's a great opportunity to do that. If you are responsible for an essential education course. Data collection happening this year, and then analyzing the data, scoring the data, determining improvements, right? Does anybody remember how many improvements you need per essential education course?
Oh,
You got it. Perfect. Okay, yeah. And again, I will say once more, those can be lower stakes improvements, meaningful, small but meaningful. That small teaching book that you got is an excellent resource for this. Implementing improvements by the end of fall 27, getting those into place, or maybe very early spring, and then reporting happens early in February. All right. So the Essential Skills Accelerator. We've hit you with a lot of information. Collectively, we have hit you with a lot of information over the last 2 days about essential education, about the essential skills in the graduate profile. If you are teaching an essential education course and you would like a little bit more information, you might be interested in looking into this day-long event. If you're advising students and you want a little bit more knowledge about essential education, you might want to come to some of these workshops. If you have an assignment that you're working on, and you'd like some feedback on it from somebody with expertise in one of these skills, you might want to come to this. We'll be talking about Essential Skill 10, that is the use information for decision-making that's in all the elements. There will be breakout sessions for individual skills for the elements. There'll be a session on assessment. There'll be a session on transparency in teaching and learning. If you've heard a little bit about that or are curious about it and want to know more. And we're bookended by a kickoff where we give you kind of just an overview again. If you're like, well, my brain was full, I need to hear this a little bit more. I need more context. And then a Q&A. If we haven't addressed questions that you have, you can raise those at the end of the day. There will also be lunch. We all love lunch, right? Anything to add there about the accelerator? All right.
Lunch. There will be lunch.
Lunch. Yes.
Yeah, all kinds of cool people there.
Lunch, cool people. Yes. Handouts. We love handouts. And I will pass it on to Rusty to close things out.
Yes, so thanks, Allison. This should look familiar from earlier in the day, but just to reiterate some of what we're calling signature pedagogies for teaching essential skills. Transparency in learning and teaching. This is where the purpose, reiterating, and being clear from the outset, the purpose, the task, and criteria. And really focusing on the essential skill that you're teaching in your courses. Small teaching, remember from this morning, this is iteration. This is incorporating metacognitive practices into your courses and then backward design. For those of you who'll have the opportunity to reimagine an entire course or even revise an entire course, this is really a technique to ensure that you're beginning with the end in mind. Chris spent a portion of the summer developing some guides that we have on the FCT&L website and also just outside of the doors here, focused on these key areas. And again, how do we create excitement for not only the essential skills, but also the content that students will be learning in your essential education courses? Creating that excitement and that tone from the very beginning. We're clearly very excited about essential education, the essential skills, the work that we've done, and importantly, what these courses and what you can do in these courses to set students up for success, not only while they're here with us in other essential education courses or courses as they get into their majors or programs, but also keeping in mind that we're setting students up for success beyond EKU. The essential skills are being discussed across higher ed right now, and employers are pretty clear in what they're asking higher ed institutions to do. These skills are sought after across different fields and different professions. So faculty have incorporated these essential skills transparently and reiterated these essential skills, have also seen the many ways that students are quite excited about this as well. And they can see the many ways that these are beneficial to them now and into the future. Hypothetically, what if all students could collaborate and work in teams in and across essential education courses, or once they get into their majors and programs? What if they could transfer that to workplace settings or their various chosen field pathways? So we can set that foundation from the outset. And these are a few ideas on ways that we can do that. Because essential education, as our team mentioned, is the foundation for an EKU education, and because you'll be teaching these students early on in their careers, it's critically important to design that early learning assessment in and provide that learner-oriented feedback from the outset. In the email at the end of the day, Chris has also included some resources about the fourth week progress reports as well, but provide students with the foundation from the beginning to set them up for success in your course. For many students, those of you who are teaching essential education, you will be among the first faculty members that they meet. They will form an impression of what it means, to collaborate with a professor based on their experience in essential education courses. And that is really exciting. So we are here to support you through consultations. Allison Starr and I have had a number of essential education and essential skill related consultations coming through. In fact, some faculty members have even requested consultations based on a series of courses, and we're connecting them with skill leads. We're providing feedback, and do not delay if you have questions or just want to brainstorm ideas. We are absolutely here to support you. It's very enjoyable, and let us know if you have any questions at all. All right, with that, we have time for Q&A. Perfect, Dr. Mack.
This may be all specific to me, so I don't know if I should ask it now or not. But CRJ 101, I think, is offering 3 sections in the fall. Did y'all make any kind of statement that every course has to have the same assignments? That sort of thing, same structure?
Allison, you want to field this one?
Sure, the assessment instruments are course level, so it does need to be the same assessment instrument across the course rather than across.
And if you're collecting data in the fall of this year and starting the rubrics in the fall of this year, in theory, those people that are teaching this should have already talked about the rubrics and gotten that in their syllabi.
There were a lot of opportunities to work on assessment instruments. I think most areas, most classes have a really good head start. If they aren't finished, then they're 65% of the way there. But I think it would be worth talking to the individual faculty or whoever the course level coordinator is for that
That'd be me.
course. Okay, okay.
Talk to Scott Hunt about it. He
Yeah.
did come to several of the sessions. I'm not sure if they designated a person to do that. And then Lucas Barnes is also one of the liaisons for College of Justice, Safety, Military Sciences. So you could also talk to him. But Scott does know about this, so he would probably be the first person I would start with, to see how far you've got.
And feel free to reach out to us if we can support you. We're more than happy to.
If they have anything, please come on August 20th. We would love to help you.
That's also, that was another question. So they scheduled our college meeting that day. So I could only come in the morning, or any of our faculty could only come in the morning.
You can do an individual consultation.
Okay.
Any
You
other?
can still come in the morning, because most of the stuff happens. Yeah, even
Breakout
breakout session, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we designed that day on August 20th in case there were any lingering questions. And so it's the ideal opportunity to get people together. If for whatever reason that we hope everybody can make that date, we are happy to do some consultations with you to make sure that we're all on the same page before we get to the fall. All right. Any other questions or comments?
Kind of comment. So we have in state government, if you're hiring for certain positions, you have to use like a behavioral interview technique where you ask for a situation that what happened and then the outcome. And a lot of the questions we ask when we tell folks when they're interviewing, they can use real life experience or school experience counts. We ask about things like quantitative analyses, communication, handling conflict with like leadership as well as their peers. But a lot of these things, if students can make those connections, like that will also help them in the interviewing process.
Absolutely. And I read headlines, I listen a lot, and there's a lot of discussion on skills-based hiring right now, regardless of like what the trajectory is going to be. It's a hot topic among C-suite execs and HR execs. And if we can help students to form those connections, but also define within different contexts, the essential skills, we're setting them up for success in that higher stakes moment when they're going to need to show that they add value to an organization, because as Lisa mentioned, AI can do quite a bit.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Any other questions? All right, we're happy to hang around if you do have any questions. If not, have a great rest of your afternoon, and we'll see you in Keene Johnson tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Recommended by Sue Six.